So I am excited too. I'm excited to be co-hosting this event. I'm excited to see so many people that I genuinely like and respect, and I'm glad to be in community with in the room. I'm excited to be in the space, the Central Library, which is one of my very favorite places in Seattle. And I'm excited that we're commemorating World Radio Day today by celebrating low power FM, right? So the power of radio isn't something that's new to me. One of my earliest memories being a refugee living here in America is my own parents and my own community huddled over radios to get whatever news that they could get about what was happening back home. And so radio has always played a big role in my own life. I learned about low power FM and the opportunity that to apply for low power FMs when I was doing community organizing work at One America, which is the largest immigrant advocacy organization in Washington State. And when I thought about the opportunity, the fact that we can create, get people in the community to produce content and air content and share information, I immediately thought of the communities that I worked with, which were newer immigrants and refugees from different countries in South King County, who spoke tons of different languages, who some weren't able to read, couldn't read English or speak English, and weren't even able to read in their own languages. I thought it would be great if we had something like my parents had when we first came to America, to share information not about what's going back home necessarily, but what's happening in their own communities in languages that they could understand. And so it was kind of a no-brainer to me, and the low-tech, the fact that, we only have 1 minute left, guys. Okay. I'm not the 3 minutes. I can talk for however long I want. Okay, sorry. I had a moment. So anywho, it was a no-brainer to me. I knew that this was something that immigrant and refugee communities in South King County could utilize. I knew it was something that they would embrace, and I knew it would be something that would empower not only them, but be positive for the entire community. So, okay, I stayed under my 1 minute. I'm good. And now, I know, I could keep on going, but anyway, but I will not keep on going, because I'm going to introduce the person that actually introduced Low Power FM to me, and probably some other folks in the room, my very good friend, Brown Paper Tickets doer, Sabrina Roach.
Wow, there's such a crowd here tonight. Thank you so much for coming and caring about Low Power FM. And tonight we're going to talk about Low Power FM and a little bit about another form of locally owned communications infrastructure, public internet. And sort of midway through the event, we'll show you some new logos that are in process for a local campaign about that, and the name that won a popular vote. Yay. Well, it's World Radio Day. So it's UNESCO's World Radio Day, a day that they created a few years ago to help us remember to recognize how important this is. The Low Power FM movement in the United States was in part fueled by, well, a lot of it was fueled by the global community radio movement. So Zain Ibrahim with Bush Radio in South Africa was essentially a pirate radio broadcaster while apartheid was in effect. When apartheid came apart, Bush Radio became a legal radio station. And some of you know this story. I'm glad to see Monica nodding. So Zain Ibrahim then talked with politicians in the United States and advocated for the United States to have something similar. I love his quote that community radio is 90% community and 10% radio. You agree with me? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, good. So tonight we're celebrating all the area Low Power FM applicants in the Puget Sound Community Radio cohort. And you might be asking yourself, well, what's that? And essentially, it's a learning community. It's a group of folks who have been meeting and sharing resources and ideas and excitement. And tonight, they will be sharing some of that with you. We also have some local journalists who've written pieces on Low Power FM, and I think fallen in love with it along the way. There are also some community organizers and folks who make other forms of media who are excited about partnerships. Folks like Andrew with the South Seattle Emerald and Nancy Chang with Real Girls. So they're all here to share their excitement with you. Yay! I'm humble to work with these groups of folks. They're very passionate, and I think you're going to see that this evening. So, Rafa's going to explain how lightning talks work.
Lightning talks are talks at lightning speed. That in our case, they are 3 minutes long. So we're gonna be bringing people up that are, some folks are LPFM applicants, some folks are journalists. Everyone is something that has some kind of stake in or cares in some way about Low Power FM. Sabrina and I will take turns introducing folks, and we're just gonna, go through, 5 folks at a time. We have our lovely timekeeper who totally kept me on track. And so, speakers, when you hear your name, we'll call you 5 at a time. Please do come and sort of line up or check in with us over in this general area. And please do keep your eye on the person in the green shirt in the front row who will keep you honest by letting you know how much time that you have to speak.
So first up, we have Pavan Vangiparam with One America. Come on up, Pavan. And Anna Menard, you're gonna come on up. Andrew Johnston with South Seattle Emerald, Lulu Carpenter with Hollow Earth, and Gabrielle Delia with Seattle University Radio. Yeah, let's hear it for Pavan.
How's it going, everyone? Just wanted to say I am very, very excited to see everyone here. This is kind of an explosion of Low Power FM that's happening all over Seattle, and it's a really, really exciting thing to be a part of it. For us, Low Power FM means community above all. Our Low Power FM station is going to be stationed in SeaTac, Washington, South Seattle, and South King County areas. And we'll be looking at serving the Somali American and Latino American communities first and foremost. One of the most exciting things for me is that we'll be able to provide them programming in their own language and culturally relative programming that will really speak to their experiences not only as immigrants but also as Americans living in a community in America. It's also incredibly important and very exciting for us that our community will be able to help us in generating programming and help us to generate actual programs that they want to see, so that it's not really going to be a top-down effort where we're deciding what the programming is, but we're going to be having them decide and possibly execute the programming too. One cool idea is like Student Mondays or something like that, where student issues will be able to be addressed at a specific given time. I had a cool idea where we could have epics and like traditional texts from their home cultures being read aloud by either professionals or by community members themselves, and that'll really give them like a nice big chunk of their culture, their home culture here in America. My parents are immigrants, and I deal with the immigrant community quite often, and let me tell you, I'm sure, I can't say this firsthand, of course, but from all appearances, it seems to be a very, very scary experience to leave your home country and come into the great unknown that is America. And whatever our LPFM radio station will be able to do in order to make a more welcoming and inclusive environment for them is just the most exciting thing ever, if you ask me. I mean, imagine you're coming all the way across the world, and you get in your car, and you turn on the radio, and then you're having programming in your own language and culturally relative programming that really speaks to you in a fashion that you can relate to and that your whole community can relate to. Another issue that we hope to address is that mainstream media outlets I love you all, but oftentimes some of the more granular issues that plague the immigrant and refugee communities of South King County tend not to be covered with the amount of depth that, that the community would like to offer. And so that's why it's increasingly crucial that these communities end up creating their own media and end up owning the execution of said media. And it's really a way for the community to get together and really make something that everyone can be proud of. I really encourage everyone to tune in about 1 year, we hope, when our station goes live, and hear some really authentic Somali American and Latino American programming. I think that's pretty much all I have to say on that. I didn't use up all my time. All right, thanks everyone.
Next up, we have Anna Menard. We first heard about her when she wrote an awesome article about LPFM when she worked at The Stranger, and she's now a journalist and online organizer at Working Washington.
Hi. I'm just gonna wait a second. Well, there's, all right, perfect. Okay, I just don't wanna waste my time listening to an announcement. Hi everyone. I'm excited for cake. That's how you get journalists to come to stuff, actually. It's just free cake. I'm actually not a journalist anymore, but I still really like free food. I just wanted to talk about when I first heard about LPFM, which was a couple years ago, I guess. Someone from Brown Paper Tickets, Barb, who I see in the back, hey, had read a story that I wrote for The Stranger about some neighborhood media stuff and said, have I got a story about neighborhood media for you? Usually when publicists call me about a thing, it's not really amazing. It's like, hey, you should write about this for our sake. And this was something that was about the community. But I was a very new journalist. I didn't know what I was doing. It was maybe my second or third story that I was trying to pitch. And when you pitch stories, you have to pitch them to your editor and the other news writers. So I was kind of nervous bringing this story to a meeting. And that's because it didn't have enough conflict and anger. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to sell it as an interesting story because everyone I talked to about LPFM was so excited and so positive. And just someone would just say like, it's 100 watts, it's the power of a light bulb, it's gonna be a radio station in your neighborhood, it's gonna be all these new voices, it's gonna be diverse content. And I was obviously excited about it, but I didn't know how I was gonna sell this to my colleagues as like a story we should write in the paper, because maybe they wanted people yelling at each other about something, or like something about some politician being mad and blocking someone from doing something. And this was a story about a bunch of people coming together and solving a huge problem and working their way through a political sphere to make this possible, and then coming together to make amazing, beautiful things. So I went to a meeting and I said, hey, I just heard some interesting stories from some people who are trying to make a bunch of tiny radio stations all over the city that are gonna have community content. They're gonna be competing right on the radio dial with the big corporate stations, and they're gonna be people telling their own stories on the air. And everyone at the pitch meeting was like, what? There's gonna be, so it's like a light bulb, but it's powering a radio station. Tell me more, like tell me more about this. And I got to the end and I said, okay, but there's not like a bad guy. I mean, I guess corporate media is a bad guy, but really this is just a bunch of people being positive and working on something amazing. And they were like, I don't care, we're gonna blow it up. It's gonna be a full page, tell me more about all these stations. Everyone was super excited. And now a couple years later, it's finally a real thing that's coming to fruition in a way that at the time it was an idea. And I am no longer at the newspaper, I now work for Working Washington. We unite working people to fight for a fair economy, make their own lives better, and a lot of the work that I do now is helping people tell their own stories directly to other people and connect with other people. So obviously I am very excited about the possibility of all these tiny little light bulbs all over the city and the region telling people's stories. So that's it.
Thank you, Anna. I love that image. All right, this is Andrew Johnston, a contributor with the South Seattle Emerald. Yay, Andrew!
Thank you. Yeah, I'm with the South Seattle Emerald, which is South Seattle's only nonprofit, community-based based, reader-supported news outlet that's basically trying to get the news out in the true sense of news, more not as a business, not as a forum for propaganda, but as a service to the community that it's reporting about. And South Seattle has an incredibly diverse community, and the Emerald reveals that through the articles we write about there, the culture and the arts and the actual events that are happening kind of from the community's perspective. It's working basically as a counter argument against the prevailing media that's out there discussing Southern Seattle. And as a member of the community, I live in South Seattle, I can fully testify to the fact that it's a necessary media outlet, because it really does represent more of what the community experiences down in the South End versus kind of the way that the mainstream media and just local Seattle news would talk about events. For example, like the new youth jail and the sort of protests and resistance to that, largely stemming from the South Seattle community. Doesn't get much attention on, let's say, Como News, but there's plenty of outlets, or plenty of work coming out of South Seattle Emerald, giving perspective of what it's actually like for the people that are most affected by these issues. And we're really excited about these low power FM collaborations with, or a news outlet like ourselves, because it gives more opportunity to sort of service the community that would be affected and would contribute, and also be the ones that need to hear it. It's frustrating to see something going down and then be told by somebody who's not in the community what's happening to your community. It's nice to have the South Seattle Emerald and future collaborations with radio to be able to distribute a more genuine perspective from the community. And so we're really excited about the future of these low power FM situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. I would also like to bring your attention to the different hashtags, if you are all Twitter people or Facebook people, that are being used today. We are using hashtag LPFM, hashtag World Radio Day, spelled out. And then, of course, everyone wants to follow and be tweeting about SPL, so the Seattle Public Libraries, which is at SPL Buzz, B-U-Z-Z. So please use those handles when you're tweeting and Facebooking today. The next person I'm going to introduce is probably the person I've known longest in this room and probably most of Seattle. She is a DJ and host with Hollow Earth Radio Talk Show, hashtag Lulu Nation Plus, hashtag Sad Boys with an I, Hype with a Y, Club, a queer and trans people of color centered radio talk show.
That was very hype, Rahwa. So, hello, my name is Lulu. I started a nation called Lulu Nation because there's not a lot of representation of who I am. So as a queer femme person of color, I started a production team called the Sad Boys Hype Club. They actually started themselves. They started following me around. Do you want to stand up? That's one of the Sad Boys with an I. And there's not a lot of representation of queer and trans people of color in the media. And so I wanted to start off with a quote. And it's by Audre Lorde, one of our ancestors. If you don't believe yourself, don't define yourself for yourself, then you will be crushed into others' fantasies of you and eaten alive. So oftentimes when I'm thinking about media justice, and I was introduced to this term by Sabrina Roach, and I'm so appreciative of Sabrina Roach and all the work that she's done, because she was one of the people that brought us to the Allied Media Conference. And this term is something that I move towards when I think about movement, and it's actually something that brings me joy. When I think about the things that happened this year in regards to Black Lives Matter, there's a lot of anger and frustration. And media justice and radio and community radio is something that gives me hope because it connects the community. And for me, through Hollow Earth Radio, and Hollow Earth Radio started in 2007. And something that's great about Hollow Earth, it started in a basement. And Garrett Kelly, he's over here to the left, he's the tech for today, started with his wife, Amber. And this belief in Hollow Earth, where it got its name, and acronym start, you can say HER, H-E-R, and that was very intentional, is the space between the South and North Pole. And it's this imaginary space of the unknown. And so what Hollow Earth tries to do is like uncover those voices and those stories that are not being told, or even the music and the genres that people say are not important. And so entering the Hollow Earth space is like very welcoming. When you go there, there's this poster that says, oh, sorry, I like to dance and body roll. We have a body roll dance party at Hollow Earth too. Does my time start after the announcement? Okay, so I forgot everything that I was saying, but one of the things that I love more than anything is like hip hop. And so like 206 Zulu, give it up to them. They have one of the longest community shows at KBCS that's in Bellevue. And so when I think about like media justice and what the possibility of these years of struggle of people bringing LPFM, and I'm like trying to get people excited, like this is so cool, you don't even understand, is like we can create our own images and our voices, and we can actually tell the truth about who we are. And as a cutie pog person, voice and visibility is this thing, and like I would challenge everybody, when you think about diversity, it's also in regards to gender, it's also in regards to race and ethnicity as well as culture. There's a deeper sense of who we are. And so when I think about the work that Garrett and Amber and what Sabrina has done, is like they had this belief and they actually out of nothing created something, and like all of you all are here today, right? And now we're like broadcasted, and like Alexis's mom, I have to bring Alexis's mom because she's listening right now, hi auntie. Every time I'm on some radio show I have to say shout out to my auntie, is like listening all the way in New York. And when I think about the shows that I've done and the artists that I would like to bring on the show, or the community organizers, is like people can learn about each other because the media is not talking about us. And so when I think about like the possibility of like somebody that's in Palestine or the Philippines or Cuba listening to ourselves or our stories, that you believe that you're not alone, right? And when Sabrina was talking about the root of the power of the radio show, it's just that even when we think about what happened in Ferguson, that they were not alone. And it's like that gives people the motivation, saying like your dreams, your possibilities, or even how Hollow Earth was founded, like this imaginary fairyland in between, is that we can actually create that. And we're actually, you know, we're not just unicorns, we are that unicorn. We can, you know, we can make ourselves visible and our truth visible. So that's what I'm excited about.
Thank you, Lulu. Thank you. Next we have Gabriella Delia. She is the training director and a DJ at Seattle University's LPFM. Before she comes up, I want to invite the next folks up, including Inye Wakoma, Karen Turing, Brett Hamill, Justina Guyot and Tony Benton, Christina DePaulo, Susan McCabe, Gracelyn Scott. Please come on up so we have you guys on deck and ready to go. All right, so again, Gabriella Delia, who I am just getting to know. Come on, Gabriella.
Awesome, thank you, Sabrina. So I'm Gabriella. I am the training director and DJ at KXSU, Seattle University's student-run radio station. And we recently actually just got the permit to have an LPFM broadcasting antenna. So everything's totally new to us, and we are so excited to be here and to join the LPFM broadcasters around the Seattle area. So as of right now, we are not LPFM. We are still strictly internet broadcasting, but in the fall, hopefully we will have our antenna installed and everything will be going smoothly. Yeah, so it's very exciting. So I'm gonna just start off with a brief history. We were known as KSUB since 1994, but we were originally broadcasting as AM carrier current transmitter, and then in 2003 the station began broadcasting online, and we tried to get a really large input of student involvement as well. And then we undertook this opportunity for LPFM in March of 2013. And we purchased new equipment and everything. We are still in the basement. We're still in the basement, Hollow Earth. We are still in the basement as well, so, or I mean, like you were. But we are in the basement of a dorm building on campus, and we really are trying to reach out to the community beyond our campus first, but what's such a big push for us is trying to get all the students and all of the community on campus involved first and foremost, because there are a lot of people who never knew that we even had a radio station in the past few years. So we're really trying to make it a more professional, more involved environment for our students, and also importantly, trying to reach out into the community beyond ourselves. But we have had a lot of press, which is really exciting, and we are trying to transform the KXSU manuals and just everything. It's like we're working really hard right now on a lot of stuff, so it's really fun. But some of the things that we're trying to think of include like having multiple level DJ tiers so that there can be levels of involvement. We're working on our on our internet, on our website, so that we could have blog submissions and get involved with not just music, but more like social justice themed blogs, because also Seattle University is a Jesuit school, and we're really, really involved and really like to recognize social justice as well as environmental justice, and justice in particular. So I think that KXSU has a really strong holding that we could put forth to the community beyond KXSU, including the surrounding neighborhoods with Seattle University's youth initiative and whatnot, trying to really latch on to the young people around Seattle University. But so I just want to leave with thanking everybody for the chance for KXSU to be involved in something like this. We are very eager, and we have our eyes and our ears open, and we are ready to learn about what we can do to create a greater community beyond Seattle University. So thank you.
Nice job. Thank you. I want to call up Inye Wakoma, owner of Ijo Media Arts. So Inye is one of the folks working on public internet here in Seattle. Inye.
Yeah. All right. So it's actually Ijo Arts Media Group. It's the name of my company. So thank you, Sabrina. Sabrina actually brought me into the campaign for public broadband, so I don't know how much everyone knows about the whole issue of public broadband, so I'll take just a really quick second to give some cliff notes. Basically, throughout Seattle, there is a hardware pipeline for high-speed broadband. I think it's 550 miles. It's already laid into the ground. But it's currently not being used.
Well, in various
ways, but it's not being used, not for the purpose that we're talking about. Right. But it has the capacity to serve high-speed broadband that's actually controlled by the city. So it would actually be a public utility that would allow for service to be accessed, by a lot of communities that don't have it currently. So right now we have CenturyLink, Wave, and Comcast, and you've got your choice of 3 variables of evil. I'm a private citizen. I can say what I want. And that's my take on the issue. I struggle with CenturyLink. So I produce film. I was a freelance photojournalist for about 10 years. I teach film and video and photography to youth. I produce film and videos for clients in private and public sector and the education sector. So, my business is very data heavy. And so I literally, can't exist unless I have really good, reliable broadband access. I work from home. My studio's in my home. My office is in my home. My clients are all over the region. 90% of my communication, whether I'm just talking to people to line up potential jobs or delivering jobs, is transferred over the internet. What I would like is to be able, and then a lot of my colleagues also are in the same situation, so the people that I work with to produce the media that I need to deliver to my clients also work in the same situation as I do. So an ideal situation for me, and the reason why I got involved in this, was that I need for everyone that I'm working with or working for to have equal access to the media waves, okay? And if everyone doesn't have equal access, then essentially there is no access for anyone. That's my take on the issue. So I see I have like 10 seconds or something. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. So come check us out. We can talk more about it in detail. It's a really big issue. It's kind of complex. It's very political, because the corporate powers don't want that kind of competition. So we really need a lot of public support in order to get this thing off the ground and make sure that it's a reality. So that's it.
The name.
Oh, Upgrade Seattle is the new name of the campaign. It's the new logo. Yes. Was there another one? Yes. Yes. Upgrade Seattle. See it, remember it, say it, use it, spread it.
And the tagline.
Oh, Campaign for Equitable Public Internet. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to recognize and thank the other folks who are also working on the campaign who are in the room, and that's Devin Glazer. Hey, Devin. Devin's our time person tonight. Ben Krakauer, are you in the room? Ben, I guess Ben couldn't be here tonight. He's got a 4-year-old. And then our next speaker, if you're okay with that, Karen Torring. Yay! Thanks, Karen.
Sabrina is one of my closest friends, and when she tells me to show up at something, I show up, but I never know exactly what I'm supposed to talk about. So I'm gonna try and just put it all together. But I am very excited about Upgrade Seattle because it puts the power of the internet in our hands. It's local. It's something that we can literally go to our city council members if we have a problem and say, fix it. And if you don't fix it, I'm a registered voter. And, and so I feel like it's so, all of my career, and I have been working in media justice for quite a long time, sometimes paid, mostly unpaid, but one of the things that I have really always believed in, and I've taught my children this, is our power to tell our own stories, because we are experts in what we need. And low power FM and municipal broadband are just two different ways for us to be able to tell our story in our own voice, because we are our own experts. And I think one of the things that got me invited here was, has anybody ever been to a barn raising? Right? Okay, so the first time I heard about a barn, I will make this very short, but the first time I heard about a barn raising, I was like, woo, woo. Okay, because people would say things like, my life has changed. I built a community radio station. Barn raising is a term that is used when people, a community, gets together and actually builds a radio station. And, I, along with the other people in the room who've raised their hands, and some of whom were with me in Woodburn, Oregon, when we erected the tower for PayCoon. And PayCoon is an acronym for a community of farm workers who originally were buying radio time on the local radio station. And when that local radio station found out that they were actually using the airwaves to organize, they basically kicked them off. Now I'm shortening this story because I only have 3 minutes and I see Devin has the 1 minute sign.
And so literally, people from all over came together, and there were babies and children and food and Spanish speakers all over the place. And this community of brown people got together and invited their friends and supporters to help them build a radio station. And I remember that day I had another event that I had to come back to in Seattle, so I had to leave right after the radio station went on the air. And as I was driving away, I realized that there were tears streaming down my eyes because this community had realized what it needed to be strong, to be powerful, and to continue to do the important work that they needed to do using the power of the airwaves. And I'm so excited and so looking forward to driving through neighborhoods all over Seattle and hearing what's going on in this neighborhood and what's going on in that neighborhood, and having all of these micro radio stations tuned to my dial and participating in the one in Rainier Valley, because that is my neighborhood, as either a contributor, a supporter, or a listener. And what I'm hoping is that everybody gets down with these small LPFM radio stations, because it really is transformative and it really is life-changing.
Thank you. Transformative and life-changing. Next up we have comedian and writer for City Arts Magazine. Are you ready? Are you ready? Brett Hamill.
Hello, thank you. I actually wrote some stuff out because I wanted to make sure I grind all my axes in my 3 minutes. So, and there's a lot of them in this city. My involvement in media justice started for completely selfish reasons, which was that I moved to Beacon Hill, and the only internet provider I have there available to me is CenturyLink, which is terrible. They should be run out of the city. My internet speed is 1.84 millibytes per second. The national average is 18. So I'm running at about a tenth the national average in the internetiest city in the country. And to add insult to injury, I live less than 3 miles away from the stadium that CenturyLink paid $75 million to name. Okay, so every time I drive, it's like a middle finger right in my face every time I view the beautiful panorama of Seattle. So that was my starting point, and I started making these little YouTube videos, and as I got deeper and deeper into the issue and kind of explored it, the story got bigger and bigger and uglier. And I found that if you were to overlay a map of the worst served internet neighborhoods in Seattle over a map of historically redlined neighborhoods in Seattle, those that were segregated, they match up almost exactly. You could just almost place them right on top of each other. To me, it's undeniable that municipal broadband is a social justice issue. Obama recently said that it should be treated as a utility, just like electricity or water. I agree. I hope that our friends at the mayor's office and City Light will wrap their heads around that concept soon enough. The more I write about Seattle, the more I realize that almost any story about the changes taking place in Seattle are about gentrification and displacement. And if you don't cover that, you're not telling the whole story. You're not really telling the whole truth. Who's getting moved in? Who's getting pushed out? That's the entire story of our city. It's also about civic spending priorities. City Light budgeted about $500 million to utility upgrades for the tech companies of South Lake Union, which is about what it would take to supply municipal broadband to every household in Seattle. So that's where your money's going. Also, you know, we spent over $400 million for each of our shiny new stadiums, and we're still paying off the King Dome, which was demolished in 2000. So civic spending priorities. Also, you know, a few days ago, King County finalized their contract with the Howard S. Wright Company, the people that brought you the Space Needle, who are now building a brand new $210 million youth jail. So I think that's some interesting symbolism for our city. Let me try to tie all that together. All of that brings me to why I love LPFM, which is that LPFM is a force that runs completely counter to every one of these trends I just discussed. it fights gentrification and displacement by giving communities an actual physical hub to pull people together, and also by giving a voice to those who have been displaced so they can return to their neighborhood via the airwaves. And most importantly, you don't need Comcast or CenturyLink's sucky internet service to listen to it. You can just turn on a radio. LPFM fights against the ongoing march of corporate and media consolidation by carving out its own space. It goes head to head with massive media conglomerates on the level playing field of the radio dial. And it basically embodies everything I value lately, which is it's funky and it's often weird, cough, cough, Hollow Earth Radio. It's hyper-local and it's real in a way that corporate media will never be. And it gives me access to voices and conversations I might not otherwise be privy to, and which I desperately want to hear more of. So basically, I just want to thank everyone who was involved in making this happen and give them a round of applause because they kick ass. Thank you.
Thank you. And if Brett didn't mention this, you can see his article on Low Power FM in CD Arts Magazine's February issue. It's on newsstands now. Next, I want to bring up Tony Benton. He is with Rainier Valley Radio, and he's on their leadership council. Tony.
How is everyone? That's a question you can answer back. How is everyone? All right. I would like to talk with you about Rainier Valley Radio, our humble beginnings, and where we'd like to go. I'll start off by talking about the group that owns the license, which is SEED, Southeast Effective Development. Southeast Effective Development has been a good steward of Southeast Seattle's communities for over 40 years. They do this through a collaborative community approach, which is done through several different ways, a few of which I'll mention, and that is through affordable housing creation, also neighborhood revitalization, and also by providing cross-cultural arts opportunities. I want to talk to you about Rainier Valley Radio, which is what we're really here for. Rainier Valley Radio, our mission is to be a media center to serve Southeast Seattle's diverse communities. And we'll do this by providing content creation from our community. The community will be the voice of the radio station. Rainier Valley is a different place, if you will, very unique. 71% of our community members are not white, much like the opposite of what's in this room, which is why we are doing some things that we think are very important, and I think that everyone has the opportunity to do by showing leadership. One of the things that we've done is go to the city council, which has a process called the council conditional use, which costs about $10,000. We took the initiative to get that changed to administrative use, which is about $3,000, which saves and sets a precedent for all of the LPFMs. Each one of us as an LPFM has the ability to lead and move forward on changing things in our society in many different ways. That's one of the beauties of this LPFM movement. Another thing that we've done is to use our community resources. What community resources am I talking about? I'm talking about our youth. We started a program called the Creative Arts Digital Media Academy for junior and middle schoolers and high schoolers. This program takes these students through communications, college-level coursework, journalism, understanding the ethics and laws of journalism, understanding the difference between opinion-based writing and what you would call unbiased writing. We talk about the legal and ethical responsibilities. We teach them how to build websites. We teach them about the rise of social media. We teach them about presentation. Because if we're going to have people on the radio, if we're going to have people who impact radio on air and off the air, we have to give them the skill set, the 21st century skills to understand what radio is today, and also to be providers of media content. We have to teach them about journalism. How do you expect people to communicate if they don't have the tools to communicate? We all have voice, we all have narrative to share. Sharing that narrative is also part of making it understandable for people from different backgrounds to understand. In our community, we serve about 80,000 people. 80,000 people. It's a lot of folks. We have a broad range of folks that we have to get to. 40 different ethnicities and cultures, 60 different languages. We look forward to this challenge. We think that if we can accomplish this, this is a microcosm of the world today. This is what we need to make happen. This is what we need to do. And I hope that all of us as LPFMs recognize the importance of diversity, the importance of thought, the importance of shared narrative. Let's make it happen.
Thank you, Tony. All right, next we have Justina Guyot, also with Rainier Valley Radio, also on the Leadership Council.
Good evening. Hello. My name's Justina, and I never want to be on the radio. I am an unaffiliated activist. I'm a resident of Rainier Valley, and I'm a founder of Rainier Valley Radio. A few years ago, I read an article, maybe the one you talked about earlier, with the information about low power FM stations, and I made a wish. I wished for a radio station with the power to build community, and I'm so excited about the hyperlocal broadcasting possibilities and the ability to mobilize. I want to thank Jerry Plumridge from SEED, the arts director, as I went around Rainier Valley saying to anyone I saw, do you want a radio station? Do you want a radio station? Do you want a radio station? Let's make a radio station. How about a radio station? Jerry was the one that said yes. And here we are with a license, a construction license. I understand that the theme this year set by UNESCO is youth. So I want to make a call out to all of the youth of Rainier Valley. This is a call out to you. All the beautiful, quirky, shy, intelligent, powerful, strong youth of Rainier Valley. Show up. Make a wish for what you want. Show up. Keep showing up, even when it's not fun. We meet the third Tuesday of every month at the Rainier Valley Cultural Center on the southwest corner of Alaska and Rainier. Show up. Take ownership. Take ownership of this station. The governance and operations of this station can be in your hand. And thank you all.
Thank you, Justina. Next we have Christina DePaulo, who is the Communications Director at For Culture.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I've loved radio and been enchanted by radio ever since I was a little girl, and I'm here to represent For Culture. How many of you out there know about For Culture? Yay! So For Culture loves radio, and I want to tell you a little bit about, for those of you who don't know who we are and what we do, I want to explain what is For Culture. We are King County's cultural agency, and we fund arts, heritage, and preservation mainly through grant programs. Where does the grant money come from? The fine tourists who visit our region, a percent of the hotel taxes they pay go to For Culture's funding program. We also have a 30-year-old internationally respected public art program. And so you can think of us as the vehicle for distributing tax-paying dollars that go to strengthening the cultural expression of our region. Isn't that pretty cool? So because of this, we really care about accessibility, that we reach as many citizens in King County as possible, both individuals and organizations who receive For Culture grants and participate in our programs, and also citizens who are the benefit of those cultural efforts. Everything from a dance performance to the existence of a landmark building in your neighborhood, one that's been preserved instead of being torn down. So why For Culture? Why radio? Like I said, For Culture loves radio. We have a history of supporting community radio, and we look forward to supporting the low-power FM effort. And I want to tell you a little bit about the ways that we may be able to do that. We have an opportunity right around the corner for those of you who might be thinking about arts and heritage projects or working on arts and heritage projects. We have a March 4th project grant deadline. And for those of you that will be coming on the air in years to come, we have this deadline every spring. And so you can call in, you could talk to us about our grant programs, and we'll talk to you about it. We also have an equipment grant that is coming up May 6th. So you could be funded for up to $10,000 for transmission equipment. So think about equipment funding. If you have never applied for a grant from a government or organization before it can be really intimidating. And we have a grant program called Open for Culture. It's a $1,500 grant program that is for people who have never applied for a grant before, and we walk you through the process. The other thing that we could do together is we could brainstorm content regarding arts and culture radio program. We'd love to brainstorm with you, and we also could hook you up with some really great partners. So to know more, please go to forculture.org or give us a call. I have business cards that I can hand out. And thank you so much.
Before I announce our next speaker, I want to give the heads up to the folks we have on deck, who are Nancy Chang, Reagan Jackson, Margot Robb, Jerome Edge. And so please make your way to this area over here. And our next speaker is the station manager of Voice of Vashon. Is this thing getting lower and lower? Okay. I'm like, what's happening? The station manager at Voice of Vashon, Susan McCabe.
Hi. I want to say I am so thrilled to be here and to see the flourishing of democracy that LPFM has created, and I want to thank all the folks at Brown Paper Tickets for supporting that. We may be the oldest radio station in the group. My hair was brown when we started 14 years ago to get an LPFM license, and Voice of Vashon is all about community. Our community is white old hippies who live in rural King County, and we try to speak to them in their language. And we try to let them know that there's a lot more diversity on Vashon Island than they might realize. In the 14 years that we have spent trying to get an FM license, in the meantime, we managed to create internet radio at voiceofvashon.org. We got a TV station, Channel 21, Comcast Channel 21, and we created a Travelers Information Service, 1650 AM, for emergency alerts, for ferry disruptions, for, God forbid, if there's a big one, Voice or Vashon Island will be isolated. So that is one of the primary reasons we wanted a radio station, but we also wanted it because Voice of Vashon is a community of choice, or Vashon Island is a community of choice. The people who choose to be there, we have learned, are incredibly talented. They bring amazing stories, and we want to showcase all those stories. We also want to showcase, and do showcase, the artists, the activists, the not-for-profit organizations, the people who are helping the homeless people on Vashon Island, the people who are poverty-stricken on Vashon Island. Yes, indeed, there are those people. The minorities, the Hispanic community, the LGBT community. Our programming is done by all volunteers, and they all come from that community. We were ready in August when we got our license to go on the air. So we got our license in August, and we launched our broadcast October 13th. And we've been on the air 24/7 since then. Yeah. And we intend to stay that way, but as you're all going to learn, it's a constant fundraising effort. You're always going to be asking people for money. But the cool thing is, if you believe in what it is you're doing, it really isn't hard to ask for money at all. And we definitely believe that there's a need on Vashon Island for community radio, a community showcase, and it is just like those radio stations in all of your communities. You're speaking to your communities, you're speaking about your communities, your programming is coming from your communities. That is what LPFM is all about, and it is designed and should keep democracy alive in this country where we're not too sure we're going to get to keep democracy. So again, thank you all, thank you Brown Paper Tickets, thank you Sabrina. And thank you all for the hard work that you are doing, and it is hard work, I know, to keep LPFM running and to keep your communities alive and vital. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Next we have Gracelyn Scott. She is the promotions director at University of Washington Bothel's U-Wave Radio. Yay.
Okay, wow. Hi, guys. I'm from U-Wave Radio, and I'm going to start off with our mission statement. U-Wave Radio is UW-Bothel's campus-based community radio station of the Bothell area and beyond. We are a center for community engagement, a hub for underrepresented voices in music, an environment for professional development, and a catalyst for social justice. I became involved with U-Wave Radio about 2 years ago, and when I started I had no idea what anything about radio was about. And I found my niche within the promotions department and have worked my way up to be the promotions co-director. And I've learned event planning, which is much crazier than I ever thought it would be for a simple small event like pumpkin carving, and had to learn budget requesting and collaborating with other organizations on campus, and that was all very hectic but a very amazing opportunity. And I'm not unique in the sense that I was open, or these opportunities are available to me. We have so many opportunities within our radio station for any community member, any UW-Bothell member who wants to get involved. We really want to stress our community involvement and community engagement, and we're very excited for once we get on the FM dial. We should have a much bigger listenership, and people who are just driving in their car, flipping through the radio station might land on U-Wave, and all of a sudden, wow, this is my new favorite station, and we'll lock this in, and that would just be a really great thing. And we will be able to draw in more people who want to donate their music so that we can highlight them and highlight events going on within our community, not just Bothell, but the greater Seattle area. And we are just very, very excited to be able to be part of this community radio. And yeah, I think that's all I have for now.
Can I say I love your shirts and I want one? I see all the U-Wave shirts in the room. That's awesome. I see you all. So thank you. Next we have the Executive Director of Real Girls, Nancy Chang.
Hi, everybody. Congratulations to everybody that got a low LFPM. Who's out there? Who's got one? All right, you guys gotta make noise because it's like radio. Well, with Real Girls, what we're trying to do is definitely shift culture through content creation, and that's what I believe you guys will be doing in the next few years. And it's super exciting because in order for us to change our communities, we gotta create and share the different voices that we have in our community. So it's a really powerful thing that you guys will be doing. And for those that don't know about Real Girls is a nonprofit based in Seattle. We provide media literacy and video production skills for young people so that they can navigate the world and share their opinions through video. And about, I think, 2008, a group of girls put together a documentary questioning media consolidation, and it was called Generation Consolidation. And I think that was a really awesome, if you haven't seen it, Google Real Girls and Generation Consolidation, because it really talks about why it's important to not just have one voice in media. We need to have a ton of community voices in order to share the amazing resources, stories that our communities provide. So I'm hoping that a lot of you will have youth programs. I know Radioactive does a great job, and I heard other folks talk about ensuring that youth have a voice in their radio stations. So congratulations to everybody, and we would love for any partnerships with Real Girls, so look us up, and thank you so much.
Next up, we have Reagan Jackson, who is a Rainier Valley resident as well as a writer with Seattle Globalist.
Thanks. Gosh, you know, it's been really amazing just listening to what everybody else has to say. I feel like actually most people have said what I wanted to say originally. But I'll just say briefly that something that has been of great importance to me are two things. One is connecting with people in my community, connecting and understanding other people's perspectives and their stories. And I feel like this is a tool that will help us to do just that. So I'm very excited about the things that you have to say about Rainier Beach especially. Particularly in terms of the Seattle Globalist, our tagline is where Seattle meets the world, and I feel like where I begin to meet the world is in Rainier Beach. And oftentimes, while I've been living there for the last 3 years, I'm still struggling to kind of get to know my neighbors. And part of that has been because of the language barriers. To my left, my neighbors are Vietnamese. To my right, they're Mexican. Across the street, they're Somalian. And since I don't have kids, I don't have that natural, like, kind of point of connection with everyone else. But I'm hoping that this will be another place where we can really start to get to know one another, because that's where the most change happens, is when we are able to really look from other people's perspectives and understand. And so I'm very excited. And also I hate Comcast, and I'm excited to so go for that.
All right, next up, LPFM Scholar and Sandpoint Arts and Cultural Exchange, Margot Robb. Oh yes, you are here, Margot Robb.
I had to write it down because I just did. I'm really pleased to be here today. Back in 2002, when I started writing my thesis on LPFM, things looked bleak for this form of community radio to be heard in bigger cities like Seattle. The FCC at the time was promising to study the interference question, but it didn't look good for those voices advocating for first adjacency channel placement. And yet, here I stand 13 years later at the launch of new stations in Seattle. I could not be more thrilled. I'd like to do a few shout outs. First of all, to Petri Dish and his cohorts in West Philly. We were talking about barn raisings, and that was a brainchild of theirs. They took on this initiative, and they made it possible for ordinary people and small nonprofits to take to the airwaves. He drove city to city in his rickety old station wagon, meeting anybody that he could possibly meet to encourage them to apply for a low-power license. In Northampton, where I eventually helped apply for a station, he originally met with 3 people, one of whom was a homeless man who had just come in out of the cold. And you know, at the time, he didn't think it was going to lead to anything. And today, there's WXOJ, which broadcasts out of Florence, Massachusetts. I got to witness the process of Valley Free Radio. I put in the application, and I got to come back and help organize the conference in 2005. And it was a truly magical experience, getting people just to even be welding the pieces together and plugging in the equipment. And I had tears in my eyes as I sat there on that afternoon. People came from all over, musicians, and they played the afternoon away, and it was truly, truly beautiful. And if you want to learn more about the low power history, my master's thesis is online. If you look me up, Margot Robb. It's a really interesting read. And I'd also like to give a shout out to Bob McChesney and John Nichols Free Press, the Media Access Project, and all the tireless work of Cheryl Lianza, and Jonathan Lawson and Reclaim the Media for putting pressure on our elected officials to better represent us as citizens, not just as consumers. Media policy is created. It isn't just administrated. We can continue to find ways to bring our voices to the airwaves. What fascinated me about the launch of low power radio was getting to see the underbelly, the political side of media policy. On the one side, you had William Kennard really wanting to leave a legacy of representing the little guys of radio, and you had Telecommunication Act of 1996 doing a wholesale buyout of radio as we knew it. The National Association of Broadcasters on the other side were attacking the low power FM service, and it really exposed to us the inner workings of U.S. media policy. It's important for us to remember that we can affect change. It just requires Herculean efforts. And I'd like to conclude by saying, I love radio. At its best, it's spontaneous, unexpected, and I can get sucked into topics of genres of music I would never seek out on my own. When the visual drops away, we engage with our ears. It encourages a different type of processing and counters the image bombardments of the internet and the 24-hour news cycle. I worked at WRT Community Radio in the late 1990s. I learned so much and saw firsthand the magic that can happen in providing a space for people who come together and create. It surely isn't without its challenges, but these stations are essential, and I'm so grateful to all of you for diving in head first and making low power radio a reality for Seattle.
Thank you, Margot. I do want to make sure I put this on your radar that at the end of March, March 27th and 28th, there's a Northwest Community Media Summit, and that is designed to bring together folks working on a variety of kinds of community media to talk about policy and collaboration. Collaboration on content, infrastructure, staffing, community engagement. There are a lot of things to talk about. And one thing I found that in working on Low Power FM in town, that all of the full power public radio stations and community radio stations have been incredibly supportive of this. So I'm so excited that this is a moment where folks can renew a sense of collaboration in this kind of space. When formerly there were some adversarial relationships, but things are coming together nicely now. Next, I want to introduce David Keys. He's with the City of Seattle. He is the Community Technology Program Manager, and he has a quick note about some funding that's available.
Thanks, everybody. So first of all, a big shout out to Sabrina and all the stations for all the work that you guys have been doing. Major shout out. And I really appreciated the kudos to the folks that driving cross country, the advocates in many towns, the one person or two people at a meeting making it happen, and the history behind this LPFM thing. A couple of years ago, our Citizens Technology Advisory Board was one of many who sent in comments to the FCC asking for these low power FM licenses to be granted to change the allowance for that. We're embarking on a new digital equity initiative with the city and continue to sort of work on what I think of as our digital inclusion framework of access, literacy, and content. So access to devices, access to the internet, access to the connectivity, the skills to use it, and then the ability to have content that's meaningful in a way that's culturally relevant and meaningful, and the ability to produce content. And so that access, literacy, and content that these LPFM stations are putting in is really critical. On my way over here, a woman who was in need, maybe homeless, don't know, you know, I was talking to her for a couple minutes, and I really wanted to say, come on in and create some radio right now and tell your story. So really look forward to that opportunity with these stations as well, as Tony and some others have talked about some of that diversity. So just kind of a couple quick things. One is that we do have a technology matching fund grant, similar to the For Culture. It's every spring. So these are grants for tech literacy and access. We've given a couple grants out. Last year went to Hollow Earth to help support some of their development on the LPFM. So March 19th is our date for the Tech Matching Fund. Seattle.gov/tech. We'll give you information on that. So that's grants of up to $30,000 this year, which is an increase for this year in part because of federal stimulus, federal broadband money that came to the state and to us. And then also I just thought you might be interested in another quick note. Next Wednesday at 2 o'clock, the City Council Committee on Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Technology is also considering a resolution about public interest obligations in the Comcast Time Warner merger. So the city is looking at a resolution to try and encourage the FCC to give some public interest return back. The city's also looking at some privacy principles. So that's just next Wednesday at 2 p.m. in the City Council Committee. So again, thanks to all of you, and thanks for the great work, and keep it up.
Thank you, David. Next, I want to introduce Jerome Edge. Jerome is, let me get this right, host and producer of the massive mix sessions on community radio station up in Mount Vernon called KSVR, and hip-hop music director of Seattle Wave Radio, which is an online station. Jerome was one of the first folks I met in like regional community media back in 2006 at the Northwest Community Radio Network Founding Summit here in Seattle that Karen Turing helped produce. So Jerome, come on over.
All right, before you start my time, I just want to tell you, watch that real close, man, because, you know, being a radio host, you know, I don't shut up. Like, but you know what, it's becoming a lot like a lecture hall in here, everybody. We're here for a celebration, and that celebration is World Radio Day. Let's make some noise, everybody. In the 3 minutes, I just had a few points I wanted to make. Just to give you a little background about myself, like Sabrina said, my name is Jerome Edge, otherwise known as DJ DEFCON of the mighty 91.7 FM KSVR Mount Vernon, and also the hip-hop music director of an online radio station that's new to the region known as Seattle Wave Radio that focuses on several different genres, everything from Latin music to hip-hop, and every artist you hear featured is from the Northwest. So you don't hear commercial, anybody, nobody's paying, you know, it's not a pay the highest bidder scheme and that's who gets the airplay. That's not how we do things. And I wanted to speak on this theme of World Radio Day when it comes to youth. You know, I stand before you here today a living testament of the power of that. But when I started in community media, I was 19 years old. I had an aunt who had a broadcast at KSVR 91.7 FM who I was a guest on her show. And I've been there ever since, and that was a decade ago. And now I have my own show and a community of just over 100,000 people that is a successful hip-hop broadcast and public affairs program that's been heard in 7 countries and on 4 different continents. By someone giving me that voice, by saying, you know what, young man, come in the studio. You know, you got something to say. Let's let your voice be heard. Not only have I been able to do that, I've been able to travel a lot for the radio station. I personally have been to Argentina. I've been to Jordan as a representative of not only the Northwest, but the United States and community radio, where actually I had a chance to meet the very distinguished gentleman, Mr. Zain Ibrahim, that Sabrina spoke about earlier. And do some really powerful things with my voice. And in this last minute that I have here, I want to say to you guys, I just wanted to offer some words to our new friends that are soon to join the radio dial. You know, you may seem like you're in a David and Goliath type fight when it comes to the media and the corporate conglomerates that control it. But you know what? The one thing you have on your side is the truth. You don't have somebody's corporate, monetarily funded agenda. You're telling the stories of your community and your people to your community and to your people by nobody else's agenda. It is what it is. Like and don't be afraid to do that, you know? I mean, in my own program, I've done that from the local scene to just the other day with everything that's going on in the Middle East with ISIS and several countries. I had some friends of mine call in because they wanted to tell Americans, hey man, you know, this ain't our religion, you know, this ain't our people, we don't support that, you know, we're people just like you and me, to right on down to the local stories and issues that impact our community directly to international issues. And again, in a community of 100,000 people, we're doing this. You know what I'm saying? So I leave you with those words, y'all. For those of you new to the dial, you know what? Don't be afraid to go big. You know, you let your voice be heard and bring that voice to your community that all of you believe in. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. That was our last lightning speaker. I really do want to send a heartfelt thank out to everyone that graced the stage and the mic today. Karen Toring, Brett Hamill, Tony Benton, Anna Menard, Marcus Green, Lulu Carpenter, Gabriel Diella, Justina, Christina DePaulo, Susan McCabe, Grace, Nancy Chang, Reagan Jackson, Margot Robb, Jerome Edge, and David Keys. Can we give them all a huge round of applause? And while there is cake, y'all, and while folks are setting up cake over here, my co-host Sabrina has just some final kind of closing out comments.
I want to thank the library for hosting us tonight. Yay, library. Where's Valerie Wonder? Valerie? Yay, thank you, Valerie. She really was so supportive and said, come on over, do this for free. We'll keep the doors open for you. I want to thank my co-workers who are scrambling to get the cake ready. This is Amanda Holm, who is our editor and writer at Brown Paper Tickets. Yay! Over there we've got Barb Morgan, our chief storyteller, who, oh my gosh, how many nights did she stay up until 11 in the office to get ready for this? She and Stephanie Rose Grace, our graphic designer, created the maps that you have. Barb did a ton of research and pulling together of information, so thank you, Barb. And Sam Keslow Parker, who is also a Brown Paper Tickets guy, we worked together in 2013 to do a lot of stuff related to Low Power FM, and now he's moved up in the company, but he still came to say, hey, thanks, Sam. Jeff was here earlier doing video, and Jocelyn couldn't be here with us tonight, but allowed her team to come and do all of this work. So thank you profoundly. It's an honor to be a doer at Brown Paper Tickets and to have my time paid for. You know, I get to do this as a full-time job, and it's one of the most rewarding things I can imagine doing with my time. And Rahwa. Thank you so much for co-hosting. Come on over. Come on over. Yay. And now it's cake time. Yay, cake. So speakers, come on up, and folks with stations, come on up and gather around the table. We've got some cake cutting to do.